Hello again, everyone, and welcome back to Reddit Aliens. I'm John, and as always, thank you so much for being here. A good topic? Let's do it. What's the most unexplained thing that's ever happened to you? Please remember to like, share, and subscribe. I was way out in the Australian outback in the middle of the night 25 years ago. I was looking at the stars and satellites with a couple other people and said, "Hey, check out that satellite." We followed it for a few seconds and then it stopped. I paused for a second or two, did a 90-degree turn, and went on its way. I saw lightning strike the street about 20 feet in front of my car, crack the pavement and everything. There wasn't a cloud in the sky that day. Every hair on my body was standing up the remainder of the drive home. When I was a kid, I went to this big church downtown. It had a library available to everyone on the second floor. It was a boring library, mainly religion books. A few magazines. We would play hide and seek in there as kids. There was a door that came off the west wall. We all went in there once. Curiosity got the better of us and we went in. To find nothing much. It looked like the rest of the library, but had some glass displays in the middle of the room with religious texts or something. It was all very stale and not fun, so we left. Fast forward maybe 8 years later. The door is no longer there. Okay. They bricked it up at some point during the renovations. Except, no one I have spoken with since has any recollection of this room. Not the adults who have been with that church for years, not any of the kids. No one has any idea what I'm talking about when I mention it. I would point out that the windows don't match up. This room had a window and it's still there. You could see it from the outside of the building, and yet no one remembers this room. This was years ago now. I was a teenager when this came to light for me. I was probably 8 the last time I was in the room. I know there was a door on that west wall, and I know that room was there. I remember being in it, yet no one I spoke to over the years has any recollection what I'm talking about. I'm almost 50 now, so there's no one alive left to tell me what happened to that room and why no one remembers it. I had to use my last $20 for some groceries, and a few days later, I was stressing because I was $20 short on something. I checked my wallet, and there was a $20 bill stuffed into a little pocket I never use. I wasn't living with anyone at the time, still something I think about every once in a while. That time when more than 20 birds quietly attended my cat's funeral. Many years ago, my poor kitty was hit by a car. She was adventurous, but never hunted. The local birds were quite comfortable when she was around. My neighbor found her deceased on the side of the road. He wrapped her in a blanket and put her in a box, then came and got me. We decided to have a little funeral for my kitty. We sat on his balcony with my kitty in the box. After I confirmed it was her, both of my other cats came and joined in, and one of them sat on the box and fell asleep. We were sitting quietly having a drink when a bunch of Australian magpies flew up to the balcony. There had to be at least 20 of them. Normally, these birds are quite chatty and warble away at each other. But this flock remained in complete silence. They hung around for a few minutes, then flew off quietly. It was so weird, but also quite sweet. Animals have a way of knowing things. Birds definitely do too. I know that crows have been known to hold funerals, but I guess that magpies do too. The year is 2006. Fergie told us her London Bridge was falling down. You could get a home with zero down mortgage. Saturn and Pontiac owners have no idea their vehicles are about to go the way of the dodo. I'm working on a Tuesday night in Auntie Anne's in the mall, but at the secondary location as we had 2 stores. At about 7:30 p.m., a family dressed in very outdated clothing approached me, like Great Depression, but clean. Dad, mom, boy, and girl. The dad ordered a pretzel, $2.64. He looked shocked that it was that much. He gave me $3 and I gave him change. They walked away without saying a word. I looked at the cash and saw that they were new, crisp silver certificates from 1934. After a few seconds, I looked in both directions. They were nowhere in sight. Not long enough for them to turn a corner. Nobody witnessed this transaction. It was just me and this time-traveling family. Time-traveling Depression-era family. That's interesting. It's pretty wild. Cool. Cousin was dying in a hospital with brain cancer. Went to visit, and she kept writing the same 3 names over and over. No idea who they were, nor did she. Weeks pass, and she unfortunately passed away. Went to her funeral, and it's a big funeral home, and had other services going on at the same time. The other people being laid out were the names she had written in the hospital weeks prior. It F's with me, but also brings some sort of peace. I'm an ER doc in New York City. I was going to work on the train one day, and when the doors close, I make eye contact with another man standing on the platform. We spend a good 5 to 10 seconds looking at each other with that uncanny feeling of knowing someone, but not sure from where. I remember thinking, that was kind of intense to myself. He came in during my shift in cardiac arrest. Couldn't save him. When I was around 10, an abandoned corner house across the street was being torn down. In the outside stairwell to go down into the basement, I saw a purple figure looking at the bulldozer. I have no idea why it was, but to my 10-year-old brain, all I could think was that it was an alien. About 30 seconds of watching it, wondering what it was, a section of the roof was torn off and landed right on top of the stairwell. To this day, I don't know what the hell it was, but it was definitely a humanoid-type creature. This was 25 years ago now. Never told anyone. I once broke a drinking glass at home. Had 12 of that glass. If I wanted a new one, I had to buy a 6-pack, which I did not have the space for, so I never did. The glass was not cracked. It was almost split in half, so there were 2 big pieces. I threw the glass out to the glass container. About a month and a half later, I was unloading my dishwasher, noticed I was missing 2 glasses, and when I put something in the cabinet and thought that was weird because I had 2 glasses left to unload from the washer. Unloaded the dishwasher, and suddenly I had 12 glasses again. No clue how, why, or when. Live alone, so no one bought one. That one still F's me up. Over a decade ago, I was about 17 and was in Orlando with my best friend and my parents. We were visiting Disney World. My best friend and I were in one hotel room, and my parents were in the one next to us. I woke up about 2 a.m. randomly, which I didn't normally do. There were 2 windows in the room overlooking Orlando, and as I was lying there, I caught a glance of what I thought was an airplane. I kept looking at it and realized it wasn't moving. I sat up and also realized the lights weren't like a plane. I went to the window, and it was completely still in the sky. As I looked closer, it was like an orb of swirling colors of all kinds. It was so beautiful. I'm not sure how much time passed. Probably no more than a minute or 2, when all of a sudden it darted off to the right extremely fast, like nothing I've ever seen. It was crazy. It was 100% not a dream. And I am frustrated that I was so transfixed that I didn't think to take a video or picture. I'll never forget it, and I have no idea what it was, only that I did not imagine it. Around 3 a.m. in the summer, I snuck out for a smoke in Nova on a little road behind my neighborhood, about 30 minutes from D.C. This road runs up a hill to a water treatment plant. I see some headlights coming, which is weird because this road is almost never used in the daytime, much less in the middle of the night. So I try to act cool when a gigantic military convoy drives by. I'm talking a dozen Humvees, some Deuce and a Quarters, a couple tanker trucks, and at least a half a dozen black Suburbans, the same the Secret Service and CIA use. What the hell were all those dudes doing out at a water treatment plant located in a DC suburb at 3 a.m.? I'm not saying they were transporting E.T., but they were definitely transporting E.T. When I was about 12, I remember sitting in the back seat of my parents' 98 Toyota Corolla with my dad while my mom was driving on the freeway. I remember it was raining all day, and I looked out the window and watched a black Ford truck fly off the highway and land on its back. It was beyond totaled. My mom stopped, and my dad went to see if there were any survivors. One guy crawled out and had blood running down his forehead, and he said he fell asleep at the wheel. I couldn't believe he was even standing up straight, let alone speaking. If my mom was going any slower, that truck would have landed on our little Toyota. To this day, my parents told me that I dreamt it. I did not. In high school, my friends and I used to trespass at Cold Harbor Battlefield late at night, ghost hunting, if you will. It was a pretty significant battle in the Civil War, and a lot of people died there, obviously. One night, I swear I saw someone marching in place, probably 20 feet ahead of us, holding what I thought was a lantern. I wanted to go closer, but my sister panicked and we left. A different night, I was there with friends, and I was the one driving. When I first went there, my sister's boyfriend brought us, so when I went without him, I had trouble finding where he had his park and the trail I wanted to take my friends on. I was driving down a small dirt road, and we came up on a left turn that seemed promising. I went down a very narrow, long dirt road until we came upon what I can only describe as a compound. It had floodlights you couldn't even see from the road that sort of encased it, and all of a sudden, maybe 15 to 20 people appeared just staring at our car. This is in Virginia, and we were basically in the middle of nowhere. They did not look friendly, about half of them starting walking toward us, and I panicked. I put my car into reverse and nailed the gas pedal as I flung my friend and myself back down the one-way dirt road we came down. After that, I drove us as fast as possible out of the park. No one followed us, and to this day, I wonder who they were or what they would have done if I let them approach my car. I've never gotten such bad vibes instantly from a group of people. One time I met a homeless man outside of a CVS. The man wagers that if he can do a magic trick I can't explain, that I owe him $15. I think, what the hell, so I play along. The man pulls out a deck of cards and asks me to pick a card, Queen of Diamonds. I put the card back in the deck. He then throws the deck in a nearby trash can. I think to myself, when's he going to ask my card? The man looks me in the eyes and says, "Open your mouth." I do. He slaps my back, and a folded up card falls out of my mouth. Before I can even process what just happened, he tells me to open it up and ask if that was my card. It was. I pay the clearly fey entity in front of me $45 and run for my life. Foggy day in the Midwest around sunset. I look out the window, maybe 10 years old at the time, no fence separating us from the neighbors. Suddenly, I see outlined in the fog, maybe a silhouette of a lady in a layered pioneer-type dress, cloth hat, holding an umbrella in front of my neighbor's side entrance. I yelled for my sister, so I looked away. As soon as I looked back, gone. I saw an 8-foot-tall humanoid-looking creature walking down my street in the middle of the night. I put walking in quotes because it was moonwalking forward. As in, it was walking forward, but it was sliding between the actual steps. It stopped, looked at me, looked ahead again, and kept walking. I felt no fear or malice. I remember saying out loud, "Well, that was effing weird. No one has ever believed me. Don't care. Know what I saw." Me and my two buddies were watching The Strangers on his old DVD player. The one who owned the house went upstairs and we paused the movie. My other friend and I were just waiting and talking, and suddenly the picture of the TV went away and a picture of my friend's mom came on the TV. We were super confused and tried turning off the TV and DVD player and unplugged it, and still the picture stayed on the TV. When my friend came downstairs, it abruptly turned off. It was so eerie and strange. This was not a smart TV and had nothing else connected to it. My earliest memory is of my coming down from above the trees at my old family home when I was a toddler, disembodied, flying through the front door of the house into the living room where my body was playing with my little sister and my parents were in the room. I flew into my body and stopped playing and asked my parents what I was just doing because I couldn't remember. My parents' old house, the front door would turn its doorknob and open itself, often. It always slowly turned itself, the round type, and the door would then slowly open. Everyone in my family has seen it do this, and it would open even though when the room had multiple people. It would also get really cold suddenly in that room. The cabinets slammed themselves all at once when I was home alone one day. I've heard footsteps on the stairs and was the only one home. Saw a face in our vent. One night around 2 a.m., I got up to go pee. The bathroom was directly in front of the front door. That door was locked. When everyone went to bed, I'd checked it. I walked to the bathroom. It was closed. I came back, and it was open again. Having to close again was terrifying. I always feel that something was watching. When my first kid was about a year old, I had recently quit my job without another one lined up to escape a seriously toxic boss. I was home alone with her in her high chair in the kitchen, and she'd only recently started talking. I was doing dishes with my back turned to her and just replaying in my head all the crap that led up to me being voluntarily jobless and was really doubting my decision making as a new parent. Just thinking about all this stuff, didn't say a word, and then I hear her little voice say, "It will be okay, Daddy. It will be okay." I just started crying. We're still extremely close to this day and frequently have similar thoughts or nearly finish each other's sentences. I was on a SWAT call as a sniper. I was on the backside of a building we were about to make an explosive entry into. I was also addicted to the overpressure from explosives. I moved out a little from behind the cover I had in order to watch the explosion. Out of nowhere, I hear a voice, not my own, said, "Move." It was in a fatherly-like way, not angry, but caring and intense. I moved. The next thing I know, the explosion went off and rounds started flying. After the incident, the forensics team came in with their little dicks. Had I stayed, I would have taken one in the face. I'm thankful I moved. I'm thankful I listened. And while I can't explain it, I know there is something much greater than us. The night, I believe she, he, it talked to me. I know I wouldn't be here if I hadn't. My grandmother passed away of cancer in the early 2000s. My mom used to frequent a pawn shop near our house to find electronics and such. She knew the owner quite well, a middle-aged man, and they struck up conversation one day. She told him her mom was sick with cancer, and on her last days as her condition was deteriorating fast. He expressed deep sympathy and told her he's praying for his mom. A short time passes and my grandma passes away. At her burial, my mom was shook when she recognized the name of the headstone just before my grandma's plot. It was the pawn shop owner. Apparently, he had a sudden heart attack not long before she passed away. He had no idea he was going to be neighbors with that woman he had recently given condolences for.